Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay and see me fine. If you are here from a city, please let us know that city name and we'll quickly get started. We have impressive content, impressive guests, and hopefully you would be enjoying as we move forward. So, if you are able to hear me, please respond to me with your city name. I'm joining from London, and other guests are joining from different cities. Prasad is in London, Parna is in Mumbai, Marco, which city you are in? If you could let's type in, and then we will move on to the stage. London, Gurgaon, Pune, makes sense? Yeah, thank you. So hopefully everyone is having a good weekend. We are nearing to the second last episode for BESA Batch 04. I'm sure that most of you were here from very first day, and that has encouraged us to keep on creating more content and to bring more guests so that we could help you all in learning the most about the cloud. So we could see Heritage City, Mysore, okay, Milano, nice. Marco, I feel jealous. The weather there is really good. Ghana, thank you. Sao Paulo, Delhi. Yeah, hopefully, like in some parts of India, it's raining very heavily. So I hope everyone is keeping themselves safe and enjoying the rains. Which is rain is sometimes is a novelty in some parts of the world, but yeah, means in India you get all four weather. So I really miss that. I'll not waste a lot of your time, and I will quickly add our guest today, Marco, at stage. Prasad and Parna is also at backstage helping us. Prasad would be again coming up when we have next session with Nishant. Let me add Marco to stage. Good morning, Marco.
Hey, hi to everyone.
Good to have you
Good
back,
morning.
Marco from Milano. How is your weather? You are having a lot of sun, I guess.
Not today. Today is kind of cloudy.
Okay.
It's still pretty warm, the temperature, but yeah, uh, summer
What is your
is going
definition
to its
of warm?
end.
What is the degree or Celsius you call warm? Because our definition in India could be very different.
It's 22, 22, 23 now.
22, 20. See, I'll tell you that most of the time we keep air conditioning temperature to 24, so it is considered cold for us. But yeah, perspective. Thank you so much, Marco, and great to have you again. I would not waste a lot of your time and let you get into this station. I'll give little context to the people who have joined. Whiteboarding is a skill which is very important for anything you do in technical context. If you're a technical trainer, that becomes a very important skill. If you're a solution architect, that is also important skill. And you may find that in lots of tech companies we have interview round which may be asking you to create a whiteboard presentation or explain your solution to whiteboarding. So in interviews also it becomes very important skill, and that's why we thought, why don't we hear from expert Marco, who is doing this whiteboarding from long time. He presented some internal sessions into AWS events too, and that's why we felt that he would be the best person to talk about it, and that's why he's here. So I'll add Marco your screen share to the stage. I will go offline, means off stage, and you can then have stage for yourself. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ash, and welcome again, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, based on where you are, and welcome. My name is Marco Tamassia, and today, in the next 45 minutes, more or less, we're going to talk about effective whiteboarding, as Ashish introduced the session. Uh, before introduce myself, let me just set the context because I'm an AWS trainer. So I'm a trainer first of all, and I work in AWS. It's possible that in this session today, my examples will come from this world. So I always imagine when I talk about whiteboarding, an instructor in a class, virtual or in person, doing some kind of whiteboarding, and I'm gonna show you some examples with AWS services involved because this is my business world. But obviously, the tips and the tricks I'm gonna provide you in in the next minutes are absolutely perfectly applicable in any type of context where you have to just whiteboard something, where you have to present something, whatever you want, whatever you need to present, and you have a digital or a physical whiteboard, and you have to use it to do some kind of drawings to explain better a concept. So this is the scenario. And again, I'm a senior technical trainer. I work for AWS for over the last 8 years, and I'm a trainer for the last 7. I'm a former DBA, database administrator, and also an experienced public speaker. Me, together with other colleagues in AWS, we help Amazonians to deliver their presentations internally or externally to a public better, in a more engaging and memorable way. So, folks, as usual, I always like to set the context and describe, say why. First of all, whiteboarding is important during a presentation. It could be a training, as I said. It could be also a meeting. It could be a generic presentation. It's important for many reasons, and thinking about them, I prefer to basically giving you three. The first one is the following: whiteboarding is important because it makes your presentation more engaging. Think about that. Many times, very often, when a trainer or when a presenter is drawing something, most of the time the presenter involves the students. Right? Maybe you are drawing something on a whiteboard behind you, and then you ask to the students or to your audience, what's next, or what do you think I'm going to draw now, or what's the next step, what's the next point. So basically, when you are whiteboarding, there is more theater for sure than when you are delivering slides. So people are more engaged most of the time, and presentations are more engaging. When you are presenting something with the slides and then you transition to the whiteboard, you get people attention. Maybe someone is just distracted, is doing or she's doing something different, or she's he's thinking about something else. And then when you just go to the whiteboard to clarify something, to answer to a question from a person a bit confused on a topic, you get their attention. And I said the transitioning from slides. This is also true with whiteboarding. Your presentation is more heterogeneous. Instead of just delivering slides and slides and slides and slides, sometimes it's nice switch context, go to another media, show a whiteboard, and then start to explaining something, talking about something in another way. The second reason is because whiteboarding solves the split brain problem. You know, the split brain problem in in speaking, in public speaking, is when the presenter is showing slides that are too verbose, too full of content, no animations at all, and too many things, too many messages in one slide. So the student has to read what's in the slide or look at all the images and icons or charts. And in the meantime, you or the presenter is speaking or she's speaking. So the student, the audience doesn't know what to do, or she tries to do the two things in the same time, but this is always hard. Our brain can do that in a good way. So when you are whiteboarding, first of all, you slow yourself down. It's natural. When we are talking on slides, so usually, you know, we tend to speak faster. And when we switch to the whiteboard, we naturally slow down and the presentation slows down. And this is good for the audience because sometimes people are just deliver things too fast. Last but not the least, it makes you more clear and logical. So with this, I mean, and this is a personal feeling. I hope you think the same too. But in a training or in a presentation, when you see someone whiteboarding, to me it remembers me always when I am at school or in university or at school in general. And I remember my teachers drawing stuff on the whiteboard. We feel sometimes the whiteboard as something old, coming from the past, but as Ashish said at the beginning of this presentation, it's still a very powerful tool that speakers should know how to use. So we talk about the why, and then the how, because maybe you will be surprised about the different meanings of whiteboarding. And if I think about myself teaching AWS classes every day, uh, usually I don't do the typical classic whiteboarding people uh, might think, which is this one. So a person in front of a whiteboard, it could be a physical one, it could be a digital one, but still physical, but with some kind of buttons and technology in there, or a simple flip chart, or a digital whiteboard tool. So a software you use when you deliver something virtually. And this is the trainer, which is who is in this case is a guy just drawing stuff. But for example, you can also do like this. This for me, it's still a whiteboarding, and this is what I always do. I very often do during my classes. I whiteboard on top of the AWS console, like you see in the image, or on top of a slide. Why? Because sometimes we deal with poor slides, or maybe slides that need to be enriched, or it's the opposite. There are too many things in the slide, and with the whiteboard tool, you just get the attention to the audience by highlighting stuff, circling things, and in this way you decide where your audience will look at. You guide your audience, maybe when you are describing a complex architectural diagram in the cloud, or even the console. If I come back for a second, even the AWS console is pretty rich in terms of contents. You see, if you are new to the EC2 dashboard, you see at that slide and say, oh, there are too many things. There are too many hyperlinks. There is a long list of links on the left, long list of things, instances on the right. But by circling and highlighting stuff, you clarify and what you are talking about, and you guide the student, the audience, in your explanation. And this is what I always do. I rarely start with a blank screen whiteboarding from scratch. I usually start whiteboarding with a slide, or with an architectural diagram, or with an image. So with which tools? I'm not here to advertise any vendor, or I don't get any money to mention these technologies. But coming from experience of some of my colleagues, and based also on what um, technical trainers internally suggest to our external trainers, freelancers, and partner trainers, here are some names. The one that I use very often, especially for presentation like these outside my daily job, it's a Screen Brush, but available with macOS. I like it. I really like it. Epic Pen for Windows, or OneNote, for example, another alternative in Windows. Or there are also popular online digital whiteboards. So basically, they are web application. You need to register to them, and then sometimes for free you get some stuff, and you have to pay for getting more. But basically, you get these amazing applications where you have a lot of tools you can play with. So at the center there is a whiteboard, especially with classroom screen that I tried many times, and then you can throw the dice. Is maybe you are I don't know, you have two students, you have to decide who starts first with a contest, or you can just put a timer, customize it, or just use a whiteboard with a lot of tools, pens and pencils, rubbers, and effects that you can use, again, to whiteboard things. You can also use a Draw.io or similar tools. Obviously, if you're more familiar with other cloud platforms and you want to build architectural diagrams, not not only in the cloud, but these are becoming famous, especially because of cloud architectures with a lot of web services used and involved. But Draw.io, for example, for Amazonians is very good, is widely used, and you might ask yourself why he's talking about Draw.io is not a whiteboarding tool, because what I usually do is build architectural diagrams like these, and then I whiteboard on top of them to better explain a certain concept or to better describe an architecture associated to related to a specific use case mentioned in a slide. And physical devices, never forget that when you are, especially when you are delivering something virtual, you can leverage on physical devices. Some colleagues love these devices, these tablets, basically, iPad and stuff like that. Here are a bunch of names. There isn't the iPad, but iPad is good as well. I have it, but I usually don't use a tablet just because for me during a delivery, the principle less is more is great. So I just have two monitors, one mic, a bunch of lights, and that's it. But you can use a tablet as a third monitor, and when you want to whiteboard, you just share the current monitor that you want to share, pointing the one in the tablet, and you start working with your tablet. Once you finished, you start sharing again your second screen when you are projecting your slides. You can get some take some pictures if you want, but I think Asha will also share these slides with you, so probably no need. And now some tips and tricks about whiteboarding. So I have basically five main tips, pretty important. Sometimes some of them for you might be a bit more obvious, others new, or maybe something that you're already doing but you never thought about it. And you can say, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'm in the right direction." The first one, the color theory. So it's color matters, folks. When a person is just drawing maybe many things, something complex for several minutes, something black. Usually, we found in a physical class a black pen, right? Sometimes black and red. I don't know why, or black and blue. Blue is also um, pretty often in a classroom. But at the end, folks, it's very important using different colors to make distinctions between things, representing a failure or a downtime with the color red, representing maybe by using more or less the same colors also a certain vendor uses. In AWS, the VPC often is represented with a green color, a region with a black color. You can draw, for example, resources within a region or within a VPC with another color. So differentiating colors basically help you telling better a story, this story you are telling. And I'm gonna come back to this later, but as I always say, I always say, for example, when I do mentorship with two other our external trainers that want to become AWS trainers, we always say to understand if your whiteboarding is good, doing it do it, and then just take a look at it after the explanation, maybe after a while, after a break or an hour or several minutes, and try to understand if you can understand what you just draw it, or you forgot already what you were saying. If you do everything with the black or with just one color, it's one thing. But if you draw something with many colors, or at least more than one, then the story is much more clear. Will be more easy to catch up with it, even hours after you look at the the, the drawing later. And always keep in mind, folks, color blindness. This is important. If you want to differentiate between lines, for example, use dashed lines versus solid lines in addition to color. The second one, this is pretty common. Yeah, I also have this problem. Write legibly. especially in a virtual classes or in virtual presentations. Why especially? Because it's obviously important to write legibly in person on a physical whiteboard, but it's very hard improve yourself, improve at my age, or when you are already an adult, improve how you write. More or less you write always write in the same way. It's very hard because you need to put a lot of effort in doing this. But when you are presenting virtually, at least most of the whiteboard digital tools you use provide a text functionality, a text box feature, and I always recommend to use it to write stuff, even if it takes more time and you need to switch from the mouse to the keyboard. When you're using the tablet, is even more difficult. But at least labels and sentences and titles will be clear, will be legible. Otherwise, I saw many times from other external colleagues amazing drawings with labels not clear at all. And if you just take a picture of that drawing and after a week you want to review that topic, you don't remember anymore what is written in those labels. So try to use those kind of features to make your text legible. And later I will show you a couple of examples. The third one, by the way, this is not me drawing that plant. It's just an example, but pre-build. So another important tip here is never start or try to not always start from scratch with the whiteboarding. Why? Because I said before, whiteboarding is engaging. With whiteboarding, you slow down the presentation, that's fine. But after a while, you are doing things on the whiteboard, people maybe may lost their attention, they get distracted. People's attention in these days is very short. Mine, yours, when we listen to someone speaking. So it's very important when you whiteboard it, just whiteboard for a few minutes. You have to whiteboard just what you have to draw, just what you have to draw, what you have to explain, and not the rest. So if I have to explain you how an EC2 instance in AWS work, how a virtual server in AWS works, I don't start by this is a region, this is a VPC. Well, for the EC2, maybe just after the VPC, I can start drawing the EC2. But if you start drawing an entire architectural diagram from scratch, it takes time and people get bored. Go straight to the point and start drawing only the essential by using something pre-built, an image, an architectural diagram already designed, already prepared, a slide that could be useful as a starting point. Do not start from scratch unless you must. In this example, for example, we are trying to whiteboarding the water cycle. Start with an image with already the sun, the plant, and the earth, and then you draw just what you need to draw, maybe with more than one color. But as you can see, there are already a bunch of colors used, and this is good. Imagine the same picture completely black. It will be less easy to remember and also less interesting. The fourth tip, related a bit to the previous one, is keep a digital library. So a library of images, of architectural diagrams, or slides, or links to those kind of resources in the web that you can use to whiteboard things. For example, when I teach AWS courses, I know in the documentation there are, for certain services, nice diagrams. So when someone asking me some questions about that topic, I say, yeah, let me go to the documentation. I open the image and then I start whiteboarding on it with my digital whiteboard tool. Or I have already downloaded that image in my PC. I have my digital library and I use it to whiteboard. So pre-build stuff and keep stuff in a digital library just in case, to be quick. And the last one, the last tip I have for you folks, practice, practice, practice. Because at the end, you should never improvise a whiteboarding. You should never improvise a drawing unless you are an expert on the topic and you really master what you're talking about, you're very good in whiteboarding, and then you can try to do it. But as I always say, with an analogy, it's even harder for a musician to improvise a song. In the same way, it's harder for a presenter improvising a whiteboard. So practice is important, and it's important, for example, to manage space. When you draw something for the very beginning, usually you don't manage space too much, and you start drawing things very small. You're scared to reach the end of the paper, or the flip chart paper, and then you draw things very small, or or you start big, and then you realize you don't have the space for the things outside. you you draw an EC2 instance, and when it comes to draw the VPC and the region around it, you don't have enough space. So you solve the space management problem with the practice as usual. So folks, as a recap, use many colors when you are drawing things. If you are a presenter live, if you are live in person, if you are whatever kind of professional in IT or outside IT, and you go to a classroom or to a meeting room, brings with you pens and pencils with colors. Do not expect that someone will let you find them there. Bring always them with you and use them. Write legibly, pre-build things. So try to have tip number 4, a digital library from which you can get stuff, and practice, practice, practice. Before giving you my last 3 tips, let me show you some stuff. First of all, I mentioned draw.io, for example, before. So if you digit draw.io, it's very easy. You can open an existing diagram if you have one. And for example, in AWS, in our team, we share our diagrams, and we have our shared library. You can open an existing diagram, and I have mine here, templates latest. Diagrams in Draw.io are organized in sheets, and as you can see here, and I can change the color because it's too bright. As you can see here in the templates, in the template sheet, if I click on it, I have a bunch. This is just an example. I have a bunch of architectural diagrams. This is from AWS, the AWS world. So we have, for example, an empty VPC with 2 public subnets, or a VPC with stuff in there, with a public and private subnet, with a load balancer, servers, and a database. Or we have the same architecture, but in a single availability zone. Or if we scroll down, we have here a pretty nice architecture. This is what we recommend at least to build in our architecting on AWS training: 3 layers application, 3 layers of subnets, public and private, or the same but empty. So imagine that someone is asking me to clarify the multi-AZ concept. What does it mean architecting a multi-AZ architecture? Then I say, okay, just give me a second. Let me take this diagram. Let me paste it here, and then let me increase just the size to let you see stuff much better. Let me move this a bit in the middle of the screen, and I can increase the size much better. Now that I'm here, well, maybe a bit smaller, I can start drawing, and I can start say by using a text functionality, not by drawing things with the mouse. Obviously, if I'm going to use the pen, this is going to be easier. But if you use the mouse like me, this will be terrible. Imagine I have to write client. I will write something like that. Or maybe it will be bad, and it's it's also funny, it's cute, but it's not very professional. And if I also write in this way, it's gonna take time as well, and it's gonna be worse. So what I usually do is just to use I got confidence with this tool. I can move it fast. I use combination of keywords, hotkeys, but obviously because I practiced it. So this is, for example, this is you, this is the client, folks. And you, the client, just performs an HTTP request to your web application. So your request goes to the load balancer, and the load balancer is called like this because it balances request. Sometimes the request goes here, sometimes the request goes here. Again, it can go here or here. Imagine that it goes here on the server on the left. This application server will talk to the primary database. This is the primary database. Let me put here a label. I forgot to put the label, so next time I will do it. And then the application server will send the query to the primary database. Imagine that the request will reach the other server. Okay, that's fine. This server in another AZ will talk to the primary database because the other one is the standby. Now imagine now that there is a failure. There is a failure, and this failure, very rare, it will happen at the AZ level. So the entire left part of the architecture doesn't work anymore, is not available anymore. So what happens? Well, simply the client will talk to the load balancer, and the load balancer is still alive because alive on another AZ. So the request will reach the other server for sure, the only one available, and it will speak with the database, which is not the primary anymore, the standby anymore, but it will be the new primary, also called the former standby. Okay, folks, sometimes to explain concept like this, I don't, it doesn't matter if you didn't understand the theory. This was an AWS lesson, but just to let you know that it's very easy and useful. Draw on top of a whiteboard, on top of an image built already, or an architectural diagram pre-built. This is one thing. This is draw IO. Remember, I use different colors, and I spoke slowly. I wrote text with a text editor and not by just using my hand free. And these are, and I used a pre-built image taken from my digital library. Okay, folks, because I'm let's say addicted to databases, and I'm a former DBA. For example, let's start something from scratch. It's the same thing. So we simulate the failure of a primary database in RDS, and we use different colors. Remember, folks, it's important that you slow down when you whiteboard stuff. And if you have some problems, the whiteboarding tool is not working, crashed or something, do not leave silent moments, too many silence moments in your explanation. Otherwise, people will get distracted, will lose their attention. So, for example, imagine that we have an AWS region. We have an AWS region here. We can call it here AWS region. I don't know, Milan, which is U South 1. And we have a VPC. Let's represent the VPC with the green color. So we have a VPC here, just one, a big one. And this VPC has two availability zones, two subnets on top of two availability zones of the region, 1 and 2. So this is subnet 1, for example, this one, subnet 1, and this is subnet 2. And we want to put in there, let's forget load balancers and servers, a nice and shine RDS instance. This is a RDS, and this is a primary instance. Okay, now we want to enable the feature multi-AZ, which is an RDS feature. An RDS feature. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. And this automatically creates another RDS instance for you, but it's gonna be a standby database. A database stopped, closed, not visible, not you're not able to query it. It exists, it's there, and there is what? There is a synchronous copy between the two. I'm gonna put here sync. Now, why there is a sync? What's the benefit? Well, the benefit is the following. Let's design here. Let's say that we have it's still you, the client, the application, the client, the application, and the application wants to talk to the database directly. Let's imagine like this. So the application is connected to the primary database, but something happened. Something happened, and unfortunately, availability zone A, where there is a subnet 1, goes down. Boom, there is a problem. I can do it with a more clear red. It has more effect. Boom, goes down. There is a failure. Okay, this is a failure. And when this happens, through a process called the failover, the new primary will become the new standby, and the standby will become the new primary. So through a process called the failover, and we can use, why not, another color, maybe orange one. Through a process called the failover, I put it here, failover, the standby will become the new primary, and the former primary will become the new standby. Now, the application, what will happen at the application level? Well, the application will just continue to work, or at least there will be seconds of downtime, but then the application will point to the new primary. Now, if I stop and I take a look at this picture, if you use a tablet with your hand and a nice pencil, the picture could be even more nicer. You see a story because I used many different colors, and we can see that there was an RDS instance on the left, and then it switched primary standby, now standby and primary. The application is now pointing to the new primary, and there was a failure. There is a kind of story. Imagine, imagine I will show an image like this. Still, obviously, you remember the topic because I just talk about it. But if maybe this is notes you took during a lesson, and after a month you come back to this, the effect is not exactly the same. We still see the story probably because our mind is pretty fresh, but having something black like this, it's less speaking. It speaks less, we say in Italian. It gives us different feelings and different information. Okay, folks. So at the very end, if I come back to my slides, uh, three tips before leave you. The first one: use whiteboarding. It helps your audience make logical and visual connections, more engaging and more heterogeneous your presentation. Never forget it. Do not stay on slides all the time. Follow the 5 tips provided, because in this way you can improve your whiteboarding. And of course, without the theory only, you don't go anywhere. Practice, practice, practice. So, folks, this is the end, and I'm available for questions if you want. Thank you, Ash.
Thank you, Marco. It was interesting discussion, and yeah, I could see some practical tips coming from your wide experience as a trainer. I want to pick up some questions from the chat so that
Sure.
you could probably answer it. One question which is interesting coming from Pawan. Give me a minute. I'm trying to bring it up. Uh, this is, I let you read, Marco, and then you could respond to it.
Yeah, come with it. Yeah, for sure, you improve this skill with experience. Absolutely. I really don't know if it's a natural or just came with experience, but I saw it improve myself in doing this with experience. Is I think it's a similar skill that you have that people have when they talk at the radio. People at the radio always surprise how their capability, their skill to keep talking and talking and talking without overwhelming you. And yeah, this is a skill. During the whiteboarding, a bunch of times I had the problem, like I instead of writing text, I draw a line. But when you talk and when you say things, you get the people attention, and people don't look at the mistake. So this is an important skill, but no exercise. I think it's just with experience. It comes with experience. Yeah. Also, when you do demos, this is something I see many speakers on the web when they do demos, they stay in silence when machines are doing things, and there is a lot of silence in the demo. This is you get bored immediately. You need to talk, and obviously you need to say interesting or interesting things or things related to the context, but you need to talk and keep talking.
Probably I'm having this question from internal someone. So Marco, I'm not sure if you know about it. Screen Brush an
No,
approved tool for
yeah,
AWS.
and is an approved tool for AWS? No, for what I know, no. In fact, as I specified, I love using it in presentations like this outside my trainings. So internally, most of many people use Epic Pen, but again, there are many, and Screen Brush, for what I know, can be used internally, but it's on the authorization track.
Next is from Parna. When on the console, how do you switch between the mouse and brush so smoothly?
Between the mouse and the brush, no, I draw with the mouse. I'm always with the mouse.
Okay.
So this is
Yeah.
my pen.
Nice. I would give my perspective. So what I have done, like I'm using uh, some buttons on my tablet, on my graphics tablet, and those buttons helps me to move from one tool to another tool. So that could be one thing. But yeah, means it depends. If some trainers are using Stream Deck, the Stream Deck, they use a button, they press a button and it takes them to a pointer or takes them to a text tool. So it depends how you want to use it. You could do
Yeah.
it through console also, but it takes time. If it is a handy shortcut, check if your keyboard supports some shortcut keys. So like for my keyboard, I am using a Logitech keyboard, so I have set some shortcut keys, so I press that button and it automatically changes between text and the tool.
Yeah, for example, to in my case, to revert a change or do a change, I just use a hotkey combination, and or to remove the drawing and show it again, I use always the keyboard. So I have with the keyboard, with one hand I use the keyboard, and the other hand I use the mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. I have another one, could be generic. Which tool is used wide across our organization, widely used across organization?
There are so many. After COVID, there are so many people doing virtual presentations on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all the platform, Twitch, and because of that, these whiteboard tools, the number of these tools is incredibly high. Really, you can find many third-party companies selling them, some open source ones. So it's very hard suggest one. I think just pick up one. If even if they sometimes they have a cost is usually very low, and get practice with it. And at the end, even if you will find a better one, you know now how to use yours, and you will continue to use it.
Yeah, and tool is as good as the person using it. So you may have the best tool available, but the person does not know how to use it, then it is of no use. And somebody with the basic tool can do wonders. So it depends.
Exactly.
Now, I want to probably pick up one more question here. Give me a minute, and then based on tool, I have uh, different aspect. I'll talk about Wacom tablets. Yeah, it depends. They wish like it depends. Like people use different type of tablets. Wacom is very one a common one. I use Huon tablet. Marco, what about you? Do you use a specific tablet to draw?
The I don't have it now. The iPad. I use the iPad,
You
but
use iPad.
rarely. Usually, I get used to the one to Epic Pen and Screen Brush. So it's rare. But when I go to a in classroom class, then I bring with me my tablet.
Yeah, that makes sense. And give me a minute, like I'll try to show like what shortcut keys I have added. Give me a minute, I'll get my whiteboard, oh sorry, digital diary here. So for me, I'm using a tablet which is from Huon. So if you can read this one,
Uh,
this is a Huon
and that's
tablet.
big.
Yeah, that is a beg, and see what I have done here. So this is a poor man's way of doing things. So these are buttons, and I have added button as a shortcut. So if I click on
Nice,
this, this takes
nice.
purple, this goes to blue. This is a text button. So yeah, this is just a easy way for me because these buttons are just clickable and I do not need to go from console to console to go for it. I know there are a lot of masking tab here, but yeah, that is the best thing I could do to get things sorted. But yeah, it works for me. So that's what
Nice,
I'm
nice.
doing here.
But the audience don't doesn't see the
Doesn't see
tape,
it. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They see the output, but yeah, Besa is a program where I reveal my trade secret sometimes. So why not? Now, I want to also talk while we are here and there are less questions and we are waiting for another guest that it's not just the tool which you need to be mastering, or it's not that only tool can help you out. I'll quickly go to a paintbrush and try to show you that how if I'm not having any tool which is specifically a specific whiteboarding tool, still I could utilize a simple tool which are easily available in our operating system. So let me bring up my whiteboard and we will get started with that. So I'll quickly, Marco, just show something so it is
Yeah,
easy for
sure.
everyone to follow along. Okay, screen two. I'm sure now it is not this one. Give me a minute.
I'm still
Not
here, but I
this.
stopped my camera.
Yeah, okay. I'll quickly present start screen share, and now I would screen share screen one, and hopefully this should be the good one. Yeah, so what you are seeing right now is a small paintbrush, right? And now obviously I start with this is the operating systems tool, so you do not need extra tool. I have not connected any tablet or pen so far, but I'm starting to draw something, and I like this tool because it's very handy, available in any operating system. And now I start building things here. So this is going to be my region, and obviously I have to type rather than putting information in a format which is eligible to read, and then I would start creating, let's say this is my availability zone. Another benefit I see from this tool is that I could select, and rather than creating, I could just copy and paste, and here is my another availability zone. Right. So if I had to draw that VPC drawing, what I would do prefer first that I would first draw AZ1, then I would be drawing a subnet here. I would be drawing another subnet here. And once I'm happy, I would be then going ahead and selecting copy paste done. This is another available tool. And then if you have to draw things like S3 bucket, I use this trick. So I use this two things, two circles, semicircles kind of, and I connect this. This is what is your Amazon S3 bucket now. So it is a good representation. If I'm looking to present a user, probably I would create an arrow like this and would be adding a face on top. So this becomes my user now who is connecting to my application. So obviously now I could go ahead and make it small or big as required. So that's how easy it is. So it's not just the tool that you need to have the best of the tools available. Use what is available and make the most out of it. So it's just what you are requiring. And as you said, it you may have like a diagram which you could bring here and then resize, rotate, whatever you want to use, that should be should be working fine. So yeah, I get that. So yeah, this is what also I can be using. And again, if I have to draw cloud, this is a cloud which is already available. So if it is internet, I'm trying to show that we are going to connect to internet, I could go ahead and use this kind of a thing. Obviously use different colors to showcase what you want, and basic concepts are available. You could flip things, you could rotate things. So it's not like you need to master any specific tool. If you want to present, you would figure out a way to go for it, like some special trick should help you out. Okay, Thank you. Thanks, Marco. I'll quickly add you here, and then I will let you conclude your session, and then we will move on to the next guest speaker. Marco, I'm trying to add you again. Prasad, you are here too.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
I
Thank
have a couple of questions, Marco, if we have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
absolutely.
So, like in solutions architects, right? Sometimes we start drawing and the architecture, we are interacting with customers and they keep adding requirements, and the architecture very soon becomes very large and very complex to a extent that, like we stop understanding where we started. So the
Yeah.
question is, at what point we should scratch it and start again? Like, how much information should we have in one snapshot in a whiteboard for a very complex architectures?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think there is a limit. I mean, if you are the most important thing is that you are clearly describing it slowly, so with the proper speed, and people are following you. Okay, if you're sure about these three things, you can whiteboarding for an hour, and the whiteboard is your lesson, and this is not a problem. People will not missing what you're just talking about, because they follow you so far, so they know the story, they know the direction you took, and from which place you started and which place you ended. I'm not a great fan of having an architectural diagram fully drawn, and then you say, okay, let's white everything. Let me show you the architecture again, and let me add a few other things. Not a great fan. But in the meantime, I'm thinking, one option could be nice if you use the same architecture to describe different use cases. That could be nice. So same architecture, you can. It's hard that the same architecture is used for the same use case, but if you change topic, or you are talking about, again, another situation, another customer, another industry, then you can say, okay, let's wipe everything, and let me on the same virgin architecture draw something else. This could be a strategy. Otherwise, because if you are consistent with the topic, then just you continue to use the same, keep using the same architecture. If you change the topic or case or use case, then it's nice wipe and do it again. This is my suggestion.
Yeah, cool. And one last
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
go ahead,
want to
Ashish.
just add one more thing on this. So if in case you got flip charts, then
Yes.
it becomes easy. So what I do, if it is a base diagram, I put it on one flip chart and then don't touch it. So I flip that so that it is in back, and then I start drawing something, and I can again revisit the actual diagram if the need be. So if you are using flip chart, you are at an advantage. Keep one basic drawing which is untouched, and then keep on bringing it back to give perspective if required. But if it is a whiteboard where you have to wipe and clean, then it won't work. But if it is flip chart, that could be a trick to hold on to.
Cool.
Go ahead, Prasad.
And yeah, from both of you, like, for larger events like AWS summits or reInvents, when we do chalk talk sessions, which is purely whiteboarding. So, how to handle whiteboarding for an audience of 50, 60, 100 people?
I go first. Well, in that case, never done that. But obviously, when the audience is so large, is it you who decides when interact with people, and how to engage with them? You are the leader of the conversation. You lead the conversation. So obviously the whiteboard is in your computer. It's probably useful having a tool like the one Ashish showed, or a screen brush or whatever, and everything is projected, right? So everyone can clearly see the whiteboard, because you're not using a flip chart in that case. It's recommended using the screen and project everything, right? Rather than write on a small flip chart or whiteboard. And even if I've seen some TED talks with people using the whiteboard, the normal one, with hundreds of people in front of him or her, but I don't know. I don't know how much people can see if they are very, very far from the screen. So putting everything in the screen is the best. So you don't look at the audience anymore. You look at the whiteboard and the screen is shared. And if you want to engage with people, you just stop, and then you ask questions with some help from people on in the audience with the mic, passing the mic to people, or just asking for raising their hands. So I will do like this.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, same thoughts here also. Only one thing I would be like, if I'm writing something, I would ensure that I write it big enough so that everyone can see it if it is a bigger room. Otherwise, if I'm just scribbling, probably people won't make it out. So be very cognitive that you have to make things bigger from the perspective. Otherwise, people would not be able to read it. Great.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Marco. It was enlightening, and it's always good to hear you. And thank you for again devoting time for us. People who do not know, Marco presented one more session for BESA Batch 04, which is on a day in the life of a AWS technical trainer. So if some of you aspire to be a technical trainer and want to hear from his first-hand account of how things work, please check that session too. And obviously, this one is also a nice session to understand about whiteboarding. So thank you so much, Marco. We hopefully would see you again into some other session. Have a good weekend. And for people on the here, we will take a short 5 minute break for everyone's sake, and then we will have another guest, Nishant, who has joined us, and we would be then having another candid discussion on how social media can help you in your career jump. So 5 minutes, and we start again. Thank you, Marco. Have a good one.
Thanks, Marco.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone is back. And we have our guest today, Nishant. I let Prasad introduce him, and then let Prasad and Nishant discuss things. Hello, Nishant. Good to have you here. And then I'll be backstage, but yeah, if I have a question, which obviously I would have, I would come back.
Nisha,
Hi
Ashish, feel
Ashish.
free to be here. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm sure you would have more things to ask Nishant. Hey, Nishant, thank you
Hi.
so much for joining us. We'll ask you for a quick intro, but I just want to set the context. Nishant is a developer at Microsoft, and we'll hear about more about his story. But he has 300K followers on YouTube and 300K plus followers on LinkedIn. So let's look into his journey about how he got here. But to start with, Nishant, let's start with the introduction.
Sure. So mostly you have introduced me. I currently work as a software engineer at Microsoft, and with that I have a few social media accounts where I post content. Like I have around 3, 4 social media accounts on different platforms. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
We'll
Yes. Yes.
understand each and everything in detail. We do have a good time with you to understand for your whole journey. But let's start with why you started sharing on social media.
So how this all started was like I always liked helping people. In college, I used to help my juniors and telling them how exactly they can prepare, or like sometimes even teaching them about basic DSA concepts. So from there, I thought if I want to do it on a larger scale, how exactly I can do that. So then that YouTube idea came into my mind, and that's how it all started.
Oh, wow. Cool. So, like, and how, idea came up, but how did you started creating content and sharing and, like how you felt that started resonating with the users?
So it started with a podcast. What I did was I contacted my college seniors who were placed in like companies like Microsoft, Atlassian, Google, Salesforce, and I started doing podcast with them. I started interviewing them, asking how did they prepare, what were the interview process, how's the work life, and that's how it all started. That was the first piece of content which I started making, and those were interviews. That's how the whole content journey started, and yeah.
So, why you thought that you should be asking them? What were you doing at that time?
So I got placed. I got placed at CureFit. It's a health startup in India. Then I was quite free. I was thinking what exactly I can do because it was COVID time. It was around 2021, and we were all at home. Classes were going on online, and I had a lot of free time. So I had nothing better to do. So I decided to start putting content on YouTube because I always wanted to try it out. So that's how it initially started. And as I got placed, so I had pretty like a basic idea what exactly you need to prepare, how can you start your software engineering journey, which all things are needed when you are targeting like top companies. So yeah.
So, when you started that, did you have in mind that you want to work for a top company?
Honestly, no. It was mostly I just wanted a placement from my college, and that's how it all started. Like uh, there was no goal at that time that I want to join a big FANG company. Everyone has that target. Like everyone wants to join Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. But I just wanted a job, honestly, at that point of time. But eventually, I was able to get into Microsoft.
Cool.
Give me a minute. Someone is at the door. Uh,
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Ashish, you're on mute in case if you're speaking.
Yeah, so people, if you do not know about Nishant, check his LinkedIn, check his YouTube channel. You'd find
Let me
lots
post
of,
that. Yeah.
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 So there are a lot of fan following, I would say, and then because of his content is so great, and that's why he has that much of following. But obviously, when people see some value being added to them, they obviously want to stick to the source from where it is coming. So that's a good thing about him. Everything okay,
I'll
Nishant?
post his.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
go
Yes.
ahead, Ashish. I'll post his LinkedIn profile on the YouTube so that everyone can have a look. But yeah, feel free to continue with the questions.
Okay. So my question is on that. Okay, you wanted to start on a platform for social media. What was the platform of your choice initially, and are you still on that platform, or you have changed your platform based on the input you got?
So initially, honestly, when I started putting out content, it was in my first year, second year of college. I started writing on Quora, if you
Hmm.
know about it. That's
Yeah.
how it initially started. So I got into NSIT. It's an engineering college in Delhi. But I had basic idea how cutoffs work, how you can which college branch is better than the other college branch and things like that. So I used to answer questions and doubts related to these on Quora initially when I was in my first second year, and then the first platform, video platform, which I started putting content was Instagram initially.
Hmm.
I used to paint, I used to draw, so I used to put out drawings on Instagram, and then eventually I started YouTube. And YouTube, I thought, how can I create value to the people who are watching me? And then there were very less creators who were talking about engineering in India as such, around software engineering, or how you can crack companies, how you have to prepare for interviews basically. So that was something which I initially started with.
Cool.
No,
Cool.
great. So answering questions on Quora and then posting your drawing on Instagram and then YouTube. So what is the platform you are currently most active on?
Actually, I'm active on three platforms right now: Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Like, I post on all three around the month. Like, I post one or two content pieces every week on each platform.
Now, on the same line, like why three platform? Why not one? Or what you are trying to achieve by being present on multiple platform?
So each platform has a different set of users who are actually using that platform, is what I feel. If you consider YouTube, then you will find a lot of tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities in India who are actually using YouTube more than Instagram or more than LinkedIn, right? When you consider tier 1 cities or people who are working, most of them will you will find on LinkedIn, right? And if you want to target cities like Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay, like tier 1 cities sort of, those people are mostly on Instagram. So it's just to get all of the user base, you have to be on multiple platforms. You can find everyone on each platform. Like, you will find working professionals on YouTube as well, Instagram as well, but they will be more active on LinkedIn, right? So it's just where the user base is. So it's everywhere. So I have to create content for all three platforms.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So, what techniques do you use to grow? Like, you are obviously grown your user base a lot, and we'll talk about like how much time it took for you to do that. But what techniques do you use to grow your followers?
It's mostly creating value for the user. If you are creating value for your user in any way, you'll start get seeing results. Because if just asking people to like, share, subscribe is not the way to go. Like, people will not do that until and unless they are getting some value out of it. So it was mostly, if I am learning something, if I have someone who has knowledge about a particular field, I try to share that with the audience, and that helped me gain followers basically. Sharing about knowledge, sharing about hacks. So I started an Instagram account where I talk about AI tools, where I talk about opportunities and hackathons and things like that. So that Instagram account currently has around 29,000 followers. So it's about generating value, and sometimes it's overload of information to people. So you will have to take care of that as well. You don't overload people with a lot of information. Because of short form content nowadays, people have abundance of information, and it's just scattered information. They don't get anything related to what they are exactly looking. So Instagram is for that. YouTube is basically for if you want to search something, you actually want to learn something, you go on YouTube. You don't go on Instagram for that. Instagram is just to scroll and like time pass, and
Yeah.
then you just add some value through it. Like,
Yeah.
if someone is scrolling through Instagram, they get to know about a good AI tool or something which they can use, then it will help them. So it, only technique is just to provide uh, value to the user.
Yeah. So, which was your first YouTube video which went viral and you thought, this is what I should be doing more?
uh, Thinking about that, I think it was actually, I've never thought about it like that way. The highest watched video on my channel is a day in a life video, actually.
Okay.
And after that, the next second, third watched are podcast, basically. So I think they will be in that viral category, right? So people want to know how exactly work, uh, like what do a software engineer exactly do when they are going to office or working from office, how the day looks like. So people are really interested in that. So I started vlogging a bit. Apart from that podcast, that, as I told you, that is what I always did. I started with podcast only on YouTube. So
So, when you say a day in a life, like, how do you shoot it?
I just use my phone, honestly. I try to put my phone whatever, wherever I'm doing anything. You just have to. It's not exactly a day in a life, because you have to fake some things. You have to add more elements to it so that people are interested in watching it, right? It's generally what a day looks like is, you mostly work, you go office, you are working, then you come back home and you do your daily chores and then you sleep, right? But adding more things to it makes it better, right? So
Yeah. So, like you said, you phone, right? So, what gear do you use? Just the phone or anything else that you have, like for the lighting? And I see your videos, you go into different offices sometimes and you bring on guests sometimes. So, what gear do you use?
So mostly I shoot on my phone. I have a iPhone, so I use that for shooting. I have a mic with me, which directly connects to iPhone, and that I use that for like recording myself, or when I'm recording a podcast. It's a wireless mic, so it has one receiver and two transmitters. So one I can put on myself, and one I give to any other person who is with me. Apart from that, I have a tripod, a basic light, and pretty much that's the setup. Nothing fancy. I don't have a camera, I don't have anything else. I have a phone gimbal as well. I don't use it that much because it's difficult to carry around and set it up. So I just use my phone directly with my hand.
Cool, cool. So without any fancy setup, you were able to garner 300K followers. Like generally, people feel that they need a lot of setup and all these high tech gadgets so that they can start their YouTube channel.
It's not like that. You don't need a high tech setup. You can start creating content with your phone, honestly, and you can even edit everything on your phone. The apps right now are pretty decent to start your content journey from your phone. Once you start generating revenue, or once you have some user base, then you want to upgrade, then you can definitely do it.
So, any tools, or any apps that you use for video editing, like any suggestions for the users here?
For free, you can use VN if you are trying to edit on your phone. Apart from that, there is one DaVinci Resolve, which is available on iPad and like laptops as well. It's free. These are free video editing tools. If you want to like start paying and get a good software, it's Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro. These are like industry standard, and I personally use Premiere Pro for editing. So yeah.
So you create all the content yourselves, or you take any help from like video editors, or like do you have a team who helps you out?
So yeah, I have a team now. I like started creating content alone earlier. This year only in February, I like created a team, like started a team sort of. I have three people who are working with me. One in a video editor, one is a content writer, and the third one is a social media like manager sort of, who helps me post consistently everywhere, reviewing videos, helping with ideas and things like that.
Cool, cool.
Makes sense. Now, I want to like, so you got those viewership. Now I want to talk about its career aspect. So once you got that presence online and in social media, how you started leveraging it. So I would very specifically ask question on this, that in what ways has your social media presence has opened up opportunities for you?
So I get to connect to a lot of people. Honestly, if I was just a normal developer who is not creating content, it would have been difficult to connect with people like Prasad, for example. Like reaching out to people is easier. People seeing that number, like reply easily, and they get connected easily, right? So that's the main uh, like benefit of having a good LinkedIn profile for reference. And YouTube and everything else is just it won't help you in your career as such, but LinkedIn profile will definitely help you, because reaching out to recruiters, reaching out for referrals and things like that is much easier if you have a decent following base and people might have seen you somewhere, right? So in that way, it has helped.
And how about Microsoft? Like, how did you got into Microsoft?
So I had an offer from CureFit, as I told you, from college placements. But due to COVID, they deferred it for like 3 months. They said that they are having some internal restructuring in the company, and due to that, they have to defer the offer for some time. So for some colleges, they deferred it for 6 months. For some colleges, they deferred it for 3 months. Finally, they asked everyone to join on time only. It was just an initial thing that your offer might get deferred. So due to COVID and being a physical health startup, they have gyms, they have fitness centers all across India. And I was pretty scared that my offer might get revoked and I'll have to sit for placements again. So at that point, it was January 2022, January 2021. So I started applying off campus. I applied to like 7 8 companies. I applied to Intuit, Salesforce. I applied to a few startups as well, Eightfold.ai, DeShaw, and Microsoft. So I got rejected from a lot of them. And finally, I was able to clear the test for Microsoft. I was able to clear all the interviews, and that's how I got into Microsoft.
And your social media journey was going along at that time, or how did that, like help either of it?
Yeah, it was going along at that time. I started creating content in 2020 September, and it was like initial time. I had around 10,000 followers on YouTube. Was not posting that much on LinkedIn. I think at that time I had like 1 2,000 connections or followers at that time, I think. And yeah, when I joined Microsoft, because people aspire to join companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, right? So people started following more when I shared my journey, how I prepared, and how I was able to crack the interviews. People started resonating and they started following. So it helped me grow my YouTube at that time from 10 to 35,000. It was pretty easy. It like went to 35,000 in 1.5 2 months, from 15 to 35. So yeah, it helped.
You are saying that I did not have much following, just 10,000 followers, and people
Same with me.
like
It's not
people
easy.
struggle to reach 1K followers on YouTube. But yeah, compared to what you have, it's commendable. So yeah. So you said it was 1.5 months when you reached 35K followers. Like, what type of content you kept generating, and when did you reach, like, your first 100 followers, 100K followers?
100K followers.
Yeah.
100K I got in 2022 March. So after, it took me around 7 8 months to get to 100K. I was uh, like cre- I was creating the similar content only. I was creating uh, content around software engineering life. I was creating content around podcast and sharing my knowledge related to things which I'm learning. So the content was around all these things only from that time to 100K.
Great. Now, I may have a question which you may have already partially answered, but I want to very specifically ask that how if let's say if I want to get into a industry or into a career, would posting about that type of content or that type of industry help me getting a better job?
I think it can, because people who are consuming that content or will engaging in that content will be the people you want to connect with, right? So in a way, they will send you a connection request, or they will accept your connection request if you want to connect with them, and then it will help you in turn.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Now, you probably have some videos of Microsoft Offices as well, right? So, did you have to go through some legal approvals for it?
No.
Okay.
So basically, it's allowed to shoot things which are already public, right? So most of the companies have their office tours, basically the place where people are actually working or where your access card is required. You're not allowed to shoot generally. Apart from that, common areas, common spaces, everything is sort of allowed. So I mostly shoot my videos there. I don't like shoot where it's restricted, where you actually need permission. So yeah.
Makes sense. And I want to just make people aware that every company's policy can be different. So
Right.
please be mindful of your company policies. We don't want you to get into any kind of a trouble. If you are uncertain about your policy, reach out to the right people and then only start doing this. Otherwise, it could be creating a conflict of interest and maybe a disciplinary thing also. So be a little mindful on that. Yeah, because a lot of companies have everyone wants social media, obviously, and they may have a process to go through or maybe a training to go through. Like if I talk about Amazon, anyone who wants to talk to social media, we have to go through a mandatory training and then
Right,
only
right.
we are approved for it. So same thing, right? So yeah, just be mindful of your own company policies. It's important.
There are security trainings and there are multiple trainings which you have to take, and you have to be mindful of all those things, that you are not
Exactly.
revealing anything which is not supposed to be like revealed by
Yeah,
you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take care of all that for sure.
Yeah.
exactly. Now, talking about how you select a specific topic for the video. Is it what thought process goes behind the scene? Because finding a topic is what a lot of people find challenging, like what I should talk about. That's a challenging thing.
Yeah, that's actually challenging. It's challenging for me as well, finding out topics. But what I do is I generally go through comments. I ask people, like my viewers, only what they want me to make videos on, and that's how I get my ideas.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, you have gathered a lot of following, and that through that following, you might have now have a community around it, right? So, how do you like? Again, you might have partially answered it, but how do you, like, utilize this community for career advancement?
Actually, I have not utilized it as much right now, because I myself just have like 2 years of experience. I have just completed 2 years at Microsoft, and I didn't get a chance only till now to uh, either switch companies or switch a track or something. So I myself have not leveraged it that much. But yeah, mostly connecting to people, knowing about things which is going in industry, or like knowing more about a particular field, it's easier.
Yeah. So,
So
career advancement is not just about like in the company, but like your side hustles and other things that also helps you with your career. So,
right.
are you using your community for anything apart from just like jobs?
So yeah, I talk to a lot of people to know what exactly is going on right now, about new technologies, about new things which come in the tech world. I'm able to connect to a lot of founders because I'm able to talk to them about how and is my video on? I thought.
No, I think there was some issue with the performance, but yeah, we are good back on
Yeah,
track.
good now. The
Yeah.
network is back.
Okay. Got it. So yeah, I am able to connect with a lot of people, and that helps.
Cool.
Great. Now, coming to the things like what are some best practices and top tips? Like, if somebody is starting or want to grow, what would be your top three tips?
Number one would be who you are. Don't try to be someone else. You should
Hmm.
have your own identity, and that is sometimes very difficult, right? Seeing a lot of people, you try to mimic them, you try to create content like them because they are where they are, but you need to find your way of putting out content, and people will resonate to that. Number one is this. Second is consistency. You have to put in consistent effort to like do anything in life, and same as for content. You will get results. You might get results if you like put things consistently, if you put in efforts consistently, but if you don't do that, then it's a very little chance to actually make it through. And don't like be sad because of setbacks, because setbacks come with everyone. Sometimes the videos might not be performing, sometimes the post you are writing might not get the reach what they deserve, but it will come along after some time. It just needs one or two good ideas to get you on track, right? So just you have to put things consistently, and you have to believe in yourself and make your own way of telling stories or telling like teaching topics or anything. People should know you for you, not that you mimic someone or you are making content like X person, right? So you'll have to create your own identity.
Yeah, be authentic. Like,
Yeah,
that's his
that's a great
Right.
ultimately.
advice.
Exactly.
On the same line, when you're in social media and sharing a lot of content, obviously you would get a lot of good feedback, and you may get some unnecessary criticism which you were not expecting. Somebody say, hey, this person is wasting my time, it's not good, this should be improved. How you handle that? Because sometimes people may take it personally, and that fear holds a lot of people back, that hey, if I post something and somebody says bad about it, how I'm going to handle it.
So this happens honestly like a lot of times, but you will find like 5 people out of 100 doing this. So you just need to start ignoring. You need to have thick skin, honestly. People will say whatever they want to say, and you will have to just ignore what they are saying. You should take positive criticism. If you think someone is actually criticizing you because you are doing something wrong, you should improve it. But if someone is just salty about things and they are just speaking uh, like randomly, and they are criticizing for no reason, then you should ignore, and that's the best way to go past it.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Now, on the same feedback line, do you remember the best comment or best feedback you have received?
uh, Honestly, I don't. uh,
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
yeah.
Completely fine, because you get so many of them. So yeah, that is good.
Right.
But
Right.
any incident which you feel that which showed that apart from the get famous aspect, apart from the monetary, from the social cause perspective, that hey, I am doing something good. Any incident which has been like that, that yes, I am doing something good.
So whenever I go out in public, whenever I go to colleges, I meet a lot of people, and they give me that positive feedback mostly, like due to your this video or due to XYZ reasons you posted this, and I got motivated, or I learned something and I was able to crack my dream job, or I was able to uh, get XYZ thing, and that is what helps.
Yeah,
Makes
I was
sense.
looking into one of your YouTube probably around 6 months back, and there were comments like, this video has actually helped me learn DSA. This video has
Right.
actually helped me crack this company. I'm like,
Right.
wow, that is great.
Yeah, that makes things very important. Okay, I'm not sure, Nishant, if yeah, you're back. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a while we lost you, but yeah, everything is good now. Prasad, move on to next question.
Yeah. One question that audiences are asking is, how do you balance your time, or how much time do you allocate on daily basis for this?
Yeah.
So now I have a team actually. So I like talk to them once or twice a week, mostly on weekends. I have meetings with them. I discuss things with them, how we want to proceed or what we want to do in the next week. and apart from that after office you have a decent amount of time, right? So I use weekends and after work hours to do like to balance out things.
Cool, cool.
Now, on this similar line, there are two aspects of your social media. Like, do you think that it is because of your content you are getting that much of recognition, or is it because of your job title at Microsoft?
I think it's mix of both.
Okay,
Because I was posting similar things only when I had an offer from CureFit. But that tag helped me to prove that yeah, I actually know what I'm talking about. It's not just bluffing things, right? So the tag definitely helps you, and there's no denial. But it's you also, like people, because in every company there are more than 10,000 to 15,000,
exactly.
20,000 employees, right? And there are a lot of people who are working at the same company with the same title. But if someone is following you, it can't just be because of the tag, because they can
Tag.
follow anyone and everyone, right? So it's a mix of both. It's not just the content you are sharing, it is the mix of both for this particular content field for sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And say now, in a way, you are representing Microsoft, in a way, right? So
Right.
what changes in your thought process that what I should be avoiding?
So you, so one, if someone is representing a company, they need to be mindful of a number of things, right? You can't say bad things about your company, at least. Like that's the basic thing you have to do. You have to portray it in a good way only, or just be silent. If you don't feel something is not extremely right, you will have to refrain from talking until you are in that company. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
I
be
get it. Yeah.
neutral. And yeah,
yeah, be
Yeah,
neutral.
yeah. If you can't be positive, at least be neutral. Like,
Be
don't.
neutral.
It's not a mechanism to vent out your anger
Right.
on the process or a company. So yeah, because that can be seen as negative, and just be
Right.
mindful of that. Yeah, because
Right.
social media is sometimes people get little carried away. I have seen those kind of incident that they were
Right.
presenting things very properly, and then somehow one video, one mistake they did, and then it had created like a lot of challenges for them. So yeah, just be
Right.
mindful. It doesn't mean you have to be scared of posting content. Just balance it internally with yourself, that whether it is making sense, am I making value, or as you said, Nishant, like adding value is important, not just the content. So that is the one thing.
Right.
Great, thank you.
cool. Last couple of questions, and then we'll probably go for audience to see if they have any questions. One is like, do you have any specific goals in mind, like that where you would like to reach in next few years?
So when I started YouTube, I wanted to get 200K. I wanted that silver play button with me. I got it. Now the next goal is to get that gold one. That gives a positive, like it helps you grow. It's just a target to hit 1 million in like next 1 or 2 years. So currently that's the goal.
Oh, cool. 1 million. That
Great.
will be awesome, right?
Right.
Nice. And like a lot of time I've seen people like who were in a company and now they have become like so famous that they think about doing this as a full-time thing, not a part-time thing. What is your thought on that? Is it sustainable?
You have to have some other business or something on the side. You just can't sustain on content, because after like 2 years some new person will come with whom people will resonate more, or they'll start following them, and maybe people will stop following your content, because it's sort of a race, right? If you don't run fast enough, someone will overtake you, right? So uh, you have to have something else on the side for sure. Then only you can pursue content full time. If you have created that source, if you have created that product or anything, or right, if you have something where the money is coming in from, then you can do this full time for sure.
Yeah,
Great.
cool. Should we take some questions from the audience, Ashish?
I would say one more question which is
Go ahead.
important. which is like what common pitfall people should look to avoid if they are going for their social media.
So first of all, the negative comments, you should avoid looking at them. You will like look at them, you will see negative comments, you just have to start ignoring them. You'll have to get to a point that whatever people are saying, if it is a positive criticism, take it. If it is not, then just leave it, right? And that is a very important thing, because what people do is they generally start questioning themselves a lot, and they stop what doing what they love, right? If someone is saying you don't smile in your videos, like some people comment positively, some people say that you are faking a smile or you don't smile in real life, and if I stop doing that, that will affect my personality in general, right? So you just have to not take negative comments, you just have to ignore them. So that's the most important thing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, that grow little skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And we can now start taking questions from audience. So, audience, please send question for Nishant, and we will see how much time we have. And first question is from Asna. How often do you post content? Is there a suggested benchmark?
There's no suggested benchmark as such. It's totally up to you. What is comfortable for you? How like you can post. I try to post twice a week, but I've seen people posting once a month or like every day also. So it's totally up to you how much create content you can create, and you are not burning yourself out to do that. So I think one video a week is good enough. And if you are posting on LinkedIn, two to three posts a week is good enough.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Another question is from Purna, and you partially answered it, but yeah, how do you balance your work and social media activity? Are there days when you don't feel like posting at all?
Yeah, there are days for sure when I don't feel like posting at all. But as I told you, I have a team now, so I just have to shoot content from my end. And sometimes uh, I don't post for a week also, because I was not feeling uh, good enough to record videos at that time. But I just want to create a system for this so that I don't fall into this trap again and again. I have set a day. Mostly I record my videos on Saturday or Sunday, one day in a week, and I just bulk shoot everything, and then it gets processed in day or two, and then gets posted regularly on all social media accounts. So that is what I'm doing right now.
Cool.
Makes sense. Audience, any questions if you have, please send them across and we would be happy to put it to Nishant and he would be happy
There's
to
one
answer
question
them.
probably, if you do not have done it, it might have a content idea for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do you
Do you
have
have
a
a
I've
video for
video
it?
actually
already
posted.
posted
Yeah.
on
I
your?
have posted a podcast
Okay,
with a few people. Some one I posted two podcasts actually. One was a person didn't. He had a career break in initial time of his career only. Like he didn't go to college directly after 12th. He did his 12th, and he didn't do engineering for like 4 years. So he has a 4 year of career gap in his with him,
Yeah.
and he is currently in Amazon. So the way he went through it, he did a diploma, then he did engineering, and then he was able to crack Amazon. But he had 4 years of a career gap. One other podcast I did was with someone who is a mother, and she had a career gap of like 6 months to 1 year. Then she went back to JP Morgan, and she was able to crack those interviews. So the difficult part was to get back to studying and getting back to solving problems for her. But yeah, I have already covered this on the channel.
Cool.
thank you. All right, and now Devesh, I'm not sure whether it is a question or a suggestion or a thought, but yeah, I'll just put it across and let you read it, Nishant.
it happens actually.
Yeah, I agree on
The
that.
FOMO is there. Fear of missing out
Right.
is always there. It's
Eh,
about how you overcome it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's not a question, Devesh. Thanks for that. But yeah, means it is a good way of looking at the thing. So feel,
Yeah.
yeah, that is why we wanted to bring it. But yeah, that is great. Now, um, once you start, uh, do you feel like if you take a break, would you lose your audience?
Yeah, it happens at times, honestly. If you take a long break, it is
Hmm.
difficult to get back. It is difficult to start posting at that speed, or people might forget you for some time because they might find someone else who is providing similar content and they start following them. And it happens to a lot of people. But like it can go both ways. People might be waiting for you to post something, and that might create an anticipation, and people will actually watch whatever you are posting after a long time. But the algorithm might not support you initially, because algorithm is trained in that way that you have to create content consistently. Consistency doesn't mean every day or every 2 days. It's just you have to post regularly. So it might have a bad effect for sure.
Now the question has come of algorithm. What are some tricks to beat that algorithm?
There are no tricks actually.
Okay, good.
It's just
That's a
to
good.
the YouTube, like any other platform, wants people to stay on it, on their platform, right? They want people to continuously watch videos, so they try to promote videos which are making the audience to stick to that video, that particular video, right? So if your audience retention is good, if people are actually clicking on your videos, that is CTR, click through rate, if these things are good, then your videos will perform. So it's just a mix of both the things, how long people are watching your videos and how often they are clicking your videos.
Now, on the
Cool.
same, if you go into analytics of YouTube, you would realize that people are starting, and then obviously the span of attention is very short.
Right.
How you handle that?
So you will have to be engaging throughout the video. That's the whole thing. You will, that hook, you'll have to have a hook at the start, and people need to follow you along through the video. People will drop, like due to the short form content, people, the attention span has decreased a lot. Earlier, people were able to sit for at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes to learn something, watch something. Now people just want everything quick. They want every information in just 1 minute, 30 seconds. So that has a negative impact for sure, and people are actually not sticking that long. So you'll have to add elements. You'll have to add elements through editing, or how you are talking, changing location, changing spaces, changing the background, like things like that, adding more text to just keep people engaged, and that will help you like increase the user retention.
On the same line of the algorithm, does having comment answered helps you in boosting your social media presence?
It creates engagement, because if you are answering someone, they'll go back to the video, or they
Okay.
will like increase the engagement starts. And that is also a factor in promoting the video, like how people are liking it. Comments and likes are to get that engagement metrics. Like initially, it's not just about CTR and watch time, it's also about how engaged people are. So it helps.
It helps. Okay. And now there is a controversy between should we include ads in our video for financial gain or we should not, right? What is your take on that?
So uh, it's it definitely reduces retention if there is an ad in between. If you are watching a video and there are like 10 ads, so people will definitely stop watching the video after like two. They will not continue because they'll find something else somewhere, right? And you'll have to get to a sweet spot. Like having one ad in between the whole video is fine, because people are used to it. People used to watch that when they used to watch TV.
Yeah.
Getting an ad, one ad in 5-10 minutes is fine. but getting after 30 seconds after every 1 minute is a lot. So you'll have to get to a speed spot where you don't lose out on the viewer as well as like financially uh, from the revenue perspective.
Now, sorry, Prasad, I'm asking too many questions because
Go
this is
ahead.
so interesting topic. Now, sometimes I have heard about people that their YouTube presence got banned or something was like restricted. What could be the reasons for those type of things?
So you get an option to report anything, right, on
Hmm.
YouTube. So if you think someone is spreading hate, if someone is spreading false information or things like that, then you can just report that issue. YouTube or the team will look into it. They will actually go through the video and they will ban it if it actually is what you are talking about. If it's actually spreading hate or it is content which is not to be posted on that platform, it happens. Apart from that, if you are like copying someone else's content, you can
Hmm.
get a copyright strike, and after three copyright strike, your channel will get banned. So there's that also. So you can't use anyone else's copyrighted content directly on your channel.
And if you are, let's say, using a clip of someone's video or pointing to their video in your YouTube, do you need any approval or any yeah, approval from them?
You should ask. matlab, it's good to ask, but you can just give them credits in the video description. I think that's good enough. If people know that you have taken this X part from someone else's videos, then you just have to give credit to them that you are actually using their content. Because getting approval is difficult. Sometimes people might not reply to you, and you actually want to use that their content. You can just give them credit, and you can use their content.
One futuristic question, Nishant. We have seen social media, like YouTube, been there for long. We have seen a lot of media coming. Like there was initially in India, there was something called Orkut. It went away. I'm not sure even you heard about name of it or not. Then came some other media, and then TikTok became popular. Then Instagram. What you are seeing? What is happening? And if you look at that, the video span is becoming shorter. Like if I'm talking about TikTok, people are sharing maybe a small reel or very short duration. What would be the next you predict?
So every platform has moved towards this short form content for sure now. TikTok started it, but Instagram and YouTube have also started doing that. Shorts is there, reels are there, and people are preferring that more. And platform is also pushing that content more so that people stay on their platform and not go to TikTok to watch the videos there. So long form content has more value added to it because you are actually sharing information and you are just not stating facts in a 30 seconds 90 seconds video. You can't share all the information you want to. You can just share facts, right? Or you can just tell uh, 1/10 of what you actually want to share. So long form video will stay. It's just people have stopped consuming it that much because they have faster dopamine hits. Like they can watch 10 shorts in same amount of time then they'll watch a long form video. But I think YouTube is going to stay because it's something. If you want to learn something, if you want to know about a certain thing, you will have to watch a long video rather than just shorts. So it should be there, it will be there.
Makes sense. I'm taking a different table turn here. Like talking from a viewer's perspective. I'm a viewer. I go to Nishant channel to watch something. I'm having a good time learning something, and then a video comes of funny cat pictures, and I'm getting drawn to it. That my attention span is getting lesser and lesser with everything. So, as a viewer, if I'm having a good intention to go to YouTube and learn, what could be some tricks I should follow as a viewer so that I get most out of it rather than wasting my time?
Watch it in full screen, then you'll just get distracted less, I think. Because if it's on a short part of your screen, then you'll get suggestions left and right and
That's
you
a
are
good
bound
trick.
to click to. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
you are
trick.
bound to click one of them. If you watch on full screen, then there are less distractions in general. Only when you pause a video, then YouTube will suggest you more, or when the video is ended, then you will get more recommendations, right? So just watch it in full screen. I think that's
Great. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm enjoying that, but we have a time limit, so we are already beyond the time. So, any audience, any other questions, anything which we can ask Nishant, and obviously, please subscribe to his channel. There are a lot of good content there, so please get in touch with him. And he's so considerate in being here after on a Saturday time. So, leverage him the best you could. And if you are like putting that thought of having your own social media to a track, maybe it is time to bring it back and get started. No harm. And you may think about that, who would listen to me? But yeah, believe me, there are a lot of people who may get benefited. So don't be afraid and get started. Obviously, it would help in career. Obviously, it helps you in learning content also. If
right.
you are creating technical content, then you have to go in deep before you face a camera or before you put a YouTube video. So it would deepen your learning also. It's a win-win for who is watching and who is creating. So why not? Great.
Yeah. Thanks, Nishant. This was really insightful session. Thanks for all the tips and tricks that you used to grow your audience in such a short span. I know people struggle to grow their audience, but you have been able to successfully do it. And thank you for sharing all the insights with us here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Ashish, for inviting me for the
Thank
session.
you. So have
Thank
a
you.
good one, Nishant, and hopefully we would have you again in some other session in some other shape or form. But yeah, thanks for attending. Thanks for
Definitely.
joining. I will see you into next sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
And for the audience, next week is the last session of
Session
for the BESA
batch 04. Yeah.
batch 04 exactly. And then yeah, obviously we'll keep communicating on the LinkedIn group that we have, and we have a special announcement for next week, and we'll let you know what we are planning next for the BESA and otherwise. But we'll also be having very special guests next week.
Yeah, so I want to get little context for next week. So we are planning for a mock interview and an analysis of it. So we are still looking for someone who could help us in being a volunteer. So if you want to be a volunteer, get ripped apart into a technical interview. We won't be going into too deep. We will talk about basic concept. But if you are inclined to face a technical interview and that get analyzed afterwards, please let us know. We would be happy to include you depending on other conditions too. But idea is we would try to have a mock interview and that would be analyzed by a bar raiser in Amazon. Bar raiser, if you do not know, are person in Amazon who are top of their game. Like if I'm talking about an interview bar raiser, that person may have taken at least 300 to 400 interviews. It's a huge number, and obviously the experience they have got is immense. So we are including a bar raiser next week who would analyze a technical interview, and then we would have another session which will be on the technical and human connect. That is also going to be very interesting. We have another guest coming from IBM Consulting, Simran Jindal. So she would be helping us in understanding importance of human skill as a differentiator in technical role. So please tune in, and hopefully you would be enjoying interesting last week of BESA session. And we have a small announcement to make at the end, which is related to cloud careers. So we will talk about that also in next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening, have a good day, and keep learning, keep sharing. We hope to see you into the next week. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.